over the surface of the moon. You're about to see the moon in full color for the first time in your life, and things that are up to 10 times larger than any city in the world. Just to the north of Aristarchus, there appears to be an area where there is mining going on. We don't know who is doing this, but in full color you see there are smoke trails and other activities occurring. You can see what appear to be huge water tanks and large structures of some kind. All these structures are atop this ridge line, and then you see a slant on the surface where there are many strange-looking structures. And this seems to be a structure that at one glance to me looks like a giant eel with its jaws wide open. To many of you, however, it will look different, but it is a very strange looking structure of some kind. After Bill Bryson viewed my film Moon Rising, he was determined to find out whether or not there was something to what I had presented in that movie. His results have become what will be the future of astronomy. No longer will amateur and in some cases professional astronomers have to become part of the perpetual myth about the moon's true essence. Even in these early photographs taken during the Russian Zond missions, before the Apollo missions took place, they reveal that the moon is a full-color celestial body. Bill Bryson has no agendas. He's not trying to make a name for himself nor become a multimillionaire. He is exactly what I am, someone that found something that needs to be shared with the rest of us. His biggest quest in all of this is to get a better telescope so he can get better imagery of our closest neighbor in the universe, the moon.
I got real interested in Keller whenever I saw the Jose's film called Moon Rising. I mean, that inspired me big time. Jose's my big hero, and I've been on a quest to really see the moon in all its glory ever since I saw that film. I did a lot of investigation and decided to get the Celestron NexStar 8 SE. For the money, it's probably the best telescope that anybody could get. It's got quite a bit of features. I immediately went out and bought a whole bunch of cameras for it. Video cameras. One of the first things that I discovered was that these cameras were all standard definition cameras. And immediately I decided, this is not for me. I need to get into high definition. A friend of mine, Henning, on YouTube, discovered a camera, and it was a Chinese high definition camera. I eventually found the source in China and bought a whole bunch of them. In my quest for Keller, my experiment was to buy a webcam, a 10 megapixel webcam by Logitech called a C910. I got that camera and I taped it to a lens, and by damn, it worked. I mean, it worked real good. So me and my friend Mike came up with an interface. Mike had them made up, and so we could mount it. The thing about this camera is it works with standard lenses. So standard telescope lenses you can use with this camera. See, most astronomy cameras are standard definition, and not only that, but they don't work with regular lenses. They are the lens. Anyhow, to make a long story short, I'm putting this all in writing as an ebook. I will say one thing, and that is that there is a sweet spot for every telescope, and every camera, and every lens. And I think that I've definitely determined the sweet spot with the NexStar 8 SE, with a Logitech C910, and some certain very specific lenses.
After I downloaded the 850 photographs of the moon in 2009, I started looking at the surface shots and became aware that there are many areas that appear to resemble oceans. While viewing Celestial, you will start seeing what appear to be large structures seemingly underwater. It's like looking at a small pond, and underneath you see huge rocks that are discernible, but you can't see them clearly. This is how I found many of the structures you will see in the film. The Sea of Tranquility, as an example, was named that for a reason. Many of the blue areas are called mares, which in Latin and Spanish means seas or oceans. I'm not claiming there are vast oceans up there, but you get that visual sense when seeing things that appear underneath some kind of haze in these vast areas. The next section deals with the structures inside craters. I started by looking at the Apollo 17 photo to get ideas from my script. While I was reviewing the Apollo 17 photograph of the structure at the Lobachevsky crater, I noticed something very unusual I had never seen before. Right next to Lobachevsky, there's another crater called Geo. Resting at the lower rim of this crater is what looks like a fish-shaped object that has two separate fins at its tail. I immediately had to find out the size of this crater and this thing that's resting there. Geo is a 92 kilometer or 57 mile in diameter crater, which is slightly larger than Lobachevsky, so this thing laid across the crater 3 times must be at least 20 miles long, and who knows how wide it is. But it is quite unique, to say the least. I then started looking for as many GEO crater photos I could find. I googled GEO crater and I found something that really made my day. I clicked on the images section and I saw photos that were mistaken for GEO, but that were of Lobachevsky, taken in 1972. There is this other photo of Lobachevsky in mistaken identity, and someone else had found an object sort of floating at the excavation area of the rim. In all my research on the Apollo 16 and 17 photos, I have never seen this one. I credit this find to the Real UFOs website out of Australia. In this photo, there appears to be an object hovering at the excavation site. There is no tower with the cross in the excavation section, so it makes me wonder, is this how the excavation was done? Is this a type of machine that does this on such a grand scale? Remember, the Lobachevsky structure is about 10 miles wide. So by looking for GEO, I found this, and it has to be what did the excavation. So this really made my day. I started searching for this new Apollo photograph. I googled GEO and found another NASA website. So I clicked on the next link below the photos, and there it is. I found it. However, this NASA website says this is AS16-121-19407. And I thought, this can't be. In the full color photo, you can see the tower and the cross, but in the new photo that we found, there is nothing there except for this newfound anomaly. After reviewing the high-res full color photo and this newfound photograph, I think the tunnel with the mound was misidentified by me. In the full color close-up, you can see this object and its true color, which has this metallic looking area at the front with a beige texture to it. The reason I didn't catch it at first is because of my mind's eye. I have never seen this type of shape before. It looked like a metallic mound to me because a mound is a shape I am used to seeing and that I easily mistook in the color photo. However, in the high-res black and white photo, the tower and the cross have disappeared, and now it looks way different. When comparing both the full color and this black and white image, both are different. So the jury is still out on the tower and the cross between these two photos. Looking at the aerial view of the same object at Lobachevsky, it does have some type of tower at its opening, so we'll just leave this as it is. What is awe-inspiring is that we may have found what was excavating this area at the time the Apollo 16 photo was taken. Curtis Hedges asked me how could we have missed this one, and the truth is, because it was listed as GEO crater, had I not caught that fish-looking object resting at the lower area of GEO crater, this incredible new find would have escaped us. I thank NASA for misidentifying GEO for Lobachevsky because this is how it was found. So now back to the fish-looking object that brought us to GEO crater. After seeking out more photos of GEO, I did not find any. The only photo that comes up in various sites is a Lobachevsky crater, AS16-121-19407, and it is showing up on other NASA websites. This has become highly suspicious for me because why would this misidentification between Lobachevsky and GEO exist? It just doesn't make sense that there would be such a huge mix-up of these two craters. After searching for a decent GEO photo, I figured out there aren't any to compare with Apollo 17 to see if this fish-like object is or was there before and after the Apollo 17 photo was released. I continued by doing a before and after search of the Apollo 17 mission photos. These are before and after photos of Lobachevsky. I searched the Apollo 17 color film magazines for a considerable amount of time. I stopped editing on the film to find this elusive GEO photo, and I found this interesting other photo of the Lobachevsky crater, allegedly taken on December 1972. The photo is AS17-151-23172. It is in color, but what is interesting is that it shows the structure as it appears in the Clementine color photo 22 years later. It's finished. It says this was taken on the second revolution of the mission from an altitude of 126 kilometers, or 78 miles, which is a very close shot. We know that the original Apollo 17 photo, AS17-150-23085, was taken during revolution number 29 of the mission, also from a distance of 78 miles. But they are very different from each other. So either Apollo 17 went forward in time to capture